We acknowledge that we live and work on the traditional lands of the Gunaikurnai nation, and that sovereignty was never ceded. We pay respects to elders past, present and emerging.
We acknowledge that we benefit from the colonial structures and policies that remain in place today. We stand in solidarity with First Nations people and recognise their ongoing struggles in dismantling those structures.
During the First World War, strikes caused fuel shortages so severe that the Victorian government reopened the old brown coal mine near Morwell in the Latrobe Valley.
And the state government has outlined a long-term plan to ensure the Latrobe Valley remains viable as its economy moves away from coal-fired energy.
It's been the lifeblood of the Latrobe Valley for decades, but continual change in the power industry and the introduction of the carbon tax means it's time for a plan B.
It's a month tomorrow since fire entered the Hazelwood coal mine in Victoria's east.
Fire has been burning for weeks now, blanketing the township in a toxic smoke. The housing estates are literally just 50 metres away, so when the wind blows in the other direction, they take all of that in.
The guillotine has finally come down on Australia's dirtiest power station, Hazelwood. It's caused jitters about electricity prices and raised questions about Australia's readiness for a low-carbon future.
We're not going to achieve net zero in the cafes, dinner parties and wine bars of our inner cities.
The Latrobe Valley's coal mines could be filled with water and made into a tourist attraction to rival Italy's Lake Como.
Just a heads up to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Island listeners, this episode does touch on a little bit about the historical situation at Lake Tyers Mission, so if that will be distressing for you, best to skip this episode. Oh my god, it's hot today, Stephanie Sabrinskas. We are sitting in this steamy little toilet room.
It is so hot. I love all of this soundproofing, but I think it makes it at least like 15 degrees hotter.
From the look of us, like that's why we're essentially naked. Like
exactly. And look, I was thinking when I came in and I was like, I need to take my top off. This is what always used to happen at band practice. I'd be playing and I'd get hot and it's the same bloody soundproofing stuff that makes me just need to get nude.
It's actually like a conspiracy just for you to get your top off. Everyone around you's like,
everyone
how can we?
it.
Yeah. So, I have a confession about how long it's been since I did this recording.
Yes.
It was from June of 2022.
Oh my gosh,
yes.
What has happened to this year?
Yeah, it just flew away and we ended up putting the Gippsland New Energy Conference episode first because
Correct.
that had a bit more timeliness to it. However, today's episode is something that we've both been really passionate about because this entire project was started because we wanted to sort of start to look at all of the artists in the area. As a couple of artists ourselves, we were like, hey, what is going on down here? And obviously we've taken sort of a left turn with this podcast, but today's episode is all about art.
Yay!
So we've been looking a lot at the contemporary history of the area and the direct impacts of the mine on the community via various disciplines and aspects. But today we're speaking with Ronald Edwards Pepper, who's a Gunaikurnai man who is an artist, and he makes these incredible large-scale paintings and public artwork that tell the stories of his ancestors, but also grapple with his identity as both an Indigenous and a gay man. So, Steph, it's your favourite topic, intersectionality.
I love it. I'm so curious about this, and I'm sure there's heaps of crossover that I could never possibly understand as a white, non-Indigenous person, and like the way that queer identities intersect with Aboriginality. Fascinating. So keen to learn.
Yes, I'm so excited to have you listen back to this because I hadn't listened to it since June. It was really great to like go back and cut into it and see all the incredible points that Ronald makes. So I have to kind of set the scene for how we recorded this interview though. It was a little unconventional. So I ended up going to this place in Morwell that I feel like is quite hard for people to believe is real, but it's essentially like
a magical place.
Yeah, this magical place. I want to call it like Kurnat Hall Lake, or maybe it's the Immigration Park Lake. I'm not sure what the official name of it is, but it's this sort of like man-made lake that has a walking path around it. It's kind of been sculpted to look like, it looks more like it's from Queensland than it does Victoria. Yeah, it's like a kidney shape, but it's also connected to this like fucking swamplands that it kind of like bleeds into.
Yeah.
But it's also sitting on the banks of like the Kurnat Hall, which is like Morwell's main town hall sort of area, which is this like very 1980s modern line, streamlined building. But then it's also got a TAFE campus attached to it and this immigration park. My main memory of this fucking lake is that when my parents first got divorced, my dad would try to outcompete with my mum and buy us Macca's, which of course is just right near the lake. And we would go and sit at this lake and like my dad would be like, I'm the best. And we'd be like, yes, you are, Dad. You're the best, buying us this McDonald's. until, because this area is filled with fucking gooses, a goose chased me and I dropped my hamburger into this fucking lake. So this is where I was doing this interview. Do you know the place that I am talking about?
I know it so very, very well. I actually went to the TAFE there as well. That's where I studied music, but it's not doing music now because it's like the Gippsland New Technology Centre, and it's all like, it's where all the training for new solar technologies and renewable energy technologies are happening. So that's pretty exciting.
Oh my God, it's like so thematically linked. Thanks.
So thematically linked. And so I used to also live just near it. And I have a memory from way back in the when about a Mid-Valley again, because Mid-Valley...
You basically go from the lake to the swamp to Mid-Valley.
Yeah, to this housing estate thing. And do you have any recollections of the housing estate?
Yes, I thought growing up that as a little capitalist guy, that housing estate was the dreamiest place on earth. Like, to me, all the homes were exactly the same. Did you ever play SimCity or Sims?
Yeah.
Everyone lived on a cul-de-sac, and I feel like that was one of the few places in Morwell that had cul-de-sacs, and to me, the very height of class was like living on a street with a cul-de-sac. So I would we would drive past that out of Mid-Valley and be like, oh my God, that's the place to be.
Right. I have to delve into that a little further. As a little capitalist guy, where the fuck would have you wanted to shop so bad in Mid-Valley? Was it like JJ's? Target?
Yeah. The toy section at Target, Steph, obviously, and that weird What's New store.
Oh,
to get like a penis straw and a slinky.
Do you remember sneaking into the adults only section of What's New? They had a little adults only bit with all the penis straws.
Transgressive. You'd be like, oh, I hope no. And the person behind the counter does not give a fuck. But you feel like you are crossing some invisible threshold into adulthood that you're not supposed to be at yet.
Speaking of invisible thresholds into adulthood.
Oh God.
I have this really clear memory of one of my best friends growing up used to do lots of dancing. So I used to spend lots of time going to Dancer Stedfords and things over the school holidays. And the Kurnot Hall was where the Dancer Stedfords happened back then. And so I remember me and my friend trekking on over right around the lake, right down through the swamp, right down through the housing estate to go shopping at Mid-Valley to buy G-bangers.
What are you how old?
I think... I want to say 13, 14, but I'm veering more on 12, 13. It was either grade 6 or year 7 that this happened. And yeah, we just thought that the most adult thing that we could possibly ever do was to wear G-bangers. And of course,
and
our
still
parents, still is so adult. Of course, our parents would not have paid for this kind of underwear on children. So we had to sneak off and do it. And I remember going there and shopping around, and we'd come up with these stories all the time that we were sisters or that we were twins, and we'd have names like Trisha.
Beautiful, stunning.
And I remember this one summer holidays, or maybe it wasn't summer, but it is now in my mind forever, that this guy started talking to us, and he was I don't know, older, maybe early 20s, maybe 18.
Oh, you're going to look back on that memory. It's like a 50-year-old man.
It totally is. But in my mind, it's full Wu-Tang Clan jacket and
a FUBU,
double stripe
Adidas
suit, or whatever the fake Adidas stripe pants are. And he started talking to us, and we told him our fake backstory that we were twin sisters called Trisha and Patsy or something. I don't know. What rhymes with Trisha? That's Trisha
Misha.
and Marisha. Something ridiculous like that. And anyway, he ended up inviting us to his house, which was in this housing estate, and we went over there, and it was Bong City. And I remember me and her sitting on the couch, really close to each other, and he's asking us all these questions, are you sure you girls are 17 or 18?
I feel mate, if you've got to ask yourself the question, you should get the fuck out.
No, get the fuck out.
God damn.
But yeah, we had obviously said we were much older than we were, and there was hubcaps on the wall, Josie, hubcaps. And this is not the first house that I've been at where there's lots of
the correlation between the correlation between hubcaps and bongai.
Yeah,
it's that's a circle,
right? It is a circle.
Yeah,
and so I don't know how we got out of there, but thankfully we got out of there relatively unscathed, except for this fun story. So,
oh my God, well, that is exactly the vibe of the place. I think scary hubcap man. Lake.
Right, next to a nana, I gotta say.
Yes.
In the estate itself, there's nanas with lovely flourished gardens, and then there's, bong rat with hubcap wall.
And that, to be fair, is the valley in a nutshell, though, isn't it? That's kind of the two types.
Yes.
And we fall strongly into the bong rat category, obviously, but also with some nana qualities. So,
you're one or the other.
I feel like it's speaking to my own personality.
Yeah, Nana Bong Rat. Well, yes, that is the place where I conducted this interview, in my car. So that's the milieu with which we should understand this interview. All of that baggage, bring that along. Yes, thank you. So I think that as an artist, it's always really interesting because the way the institutions sort of summarize you ends up being like, I don't know, the way that you're reduced down or something. And obviously, like, Ronald is like an incredible artist and he's got many facets. But I thought I'd get you to read one of the institutions, which is the Latrobe Regional Gallery, just like the way that they sort of summarize him, because I think it's a good backbone for understanding how he's sort of being positioned in the world, but also like a good summary of just like a little bit more about him. So can you read this for us, Steph?
I sure can, Josie. So, Ronald Edwards Pepper is an Aboriginal artist of the Gunaikurnai Nation who uses painting as a primary way to express his identity and tell the stories of his ancestors. Edwards Pepper is based in Morwell, Gippsland, where his grandparents Dolly Mullet and Watson Pepper arrived in the 1960s from Lake Tyers Mission. The histories and stories passed on to Edwards Pepper through generations have become essential to his life, strongly connecting him to the Gunaikurnai land and people.
Oh, I love that. I think he's one of those artists that I feel like the more you connect the dots, you're like, oh my God, that's his work and that's his work. So it's so fun, like, wandering around being like, oh shit, that's also a Ronald. Or a Pepper, I guess.
Edwards Pepper.
Edwards Pepper. Cool. So let's start with having Ronald introduce himself.
Womaninji, my name is Ronald Edwards Pepper, born in Morwell, 11th of the 4th, 1982, and being a professional artist and just share culture in a way. I'm on Gunaikurnai country. I'm a Gunai artist, and I just wanted to talk to you about my art, some of my art and some of the designs and some of the milestones and awards I've been winning over the last 10 to 11 years of my art career, and just recently had a art exhibition at the Korea Heritage Trust in Melbourne that was from an award the year before I won, and that was the Korea Art Awards. I never thought that I would ever win a big award like that, and it was just to do around my colours and my sexuality, being gay and Aboriginal person in a country town, and just seeing that piece and added in what it represents to me and the story behind it, and just coming out in a way through my painting.
So he's talking about this huge award he won, the Creative Victoria Award for Excellence, for his piece called Coming Out Too. So I've just sent you a link.
Amazing.
I know. And he's from fucking I mean, I know, like, obviously it's amazing for him specifically, but anytime someone from Morwell is like on the international or state stage, I'm always like, wow.
It makes me so happy because we get so many bad news stories.
Yes.
And I don't want to gloss over all the nuance of this area, but there's so many good things happening, and it is incredible to see people in the arts make it. Like, when you look on the Wikipedia page for Latrobe Valley,
I was just going to say, it's like
it's 5 footballers. Yeah. And I'm like, great. Football's great, but the arts, like...
Someone needs to go in. Some wiki contributor needs to go and add fucking
If you're
Ronald.
out there, add Ronald
totally
to the wiki page about Latrobe Valley.
So his piece Coming Out Too, I went to have a look at it at the Korea Heritage Trust, which is like right in the heart of the city. It's at ACM, what's the square called? Federation Square. Federation Square. So it's up in that building. And his piece was displayed there. So I've sent you the link. Do you want to have a go kind of just describing it? Because it's not what you imagine. Like, if you're imagining sort of traditional looking Indigenous art, it's not that, because his use of colour is like amazing. Like, he's bringing in his other identities, right?
So the first thing that strikes me about this piece is the colours that are used. Like, the colours that Ronald uses are not what you'd usually traditionally see in Gunai art, or in a lot of just other art as well. The colours are so vibrant, and so I can see there's a lot of cultural influence, but also there's like this modernness to the piece. So it looks like it's on a piece of board that's got wavy edges at the top and the bottom and straight sides. And the background is like a brown colour with extremely vibrant blue spirals and pink circles and yellow circles and green circles and red circles. And then throughout in the center of the circles, there looks like kind of archival pieces, like images of his family, newspaper clippings. I can't read what any of them say from this photo, but it's a collage of all these different kind of pieces that I guess make up Ronald's identity, I'm guessing.
Totally.
So it's an amazing piece, and there's handprints and footprints, and there's lines that go along that lead to everything. It's incredibly beautiful. We should definitely be linking this in.
I was just going to say, one of my notes is as much as we will try to describe Ronald's pieces, we'll obviously include them in the show notes. So I've got a small paragraph here from an interview he did for the Korea Heritage Trust by Andrew Stevens, which I think kind of really sums up the themes of this piece, but I also feel like gives us a good sense of like why Ronald's art is like so amazing, because he's not just, you know, pushing boundaries and doing his like the intersection of his identity. He's like actually communicating this stuff through his work. So Andrew Stevens writes, Ronald's work coming out too is a painting, but it operates more like a tapestry or a collage in that it weaves together multiple stories and strands from his own history and experiences. This is in quotation. Creating this artwork, I have included many elements. So this is Ronald's statement. Creating this artwork, I have included many elements and colors. He says, I just want it to be happy. The title and the story behind it helped me explain step by step the process of going through my art journey with trips to Japan and China. I've put different elements of the artwork as well as many pictures and images of memories, and it makes me so happy and safe and makes me proud to be an artist. The bright color is to make me and everyone else happy and to bring out the brightness in what's going on around me. Isn't that like the sweetest?
It is.
And it does. When you look at it, it looks like happiness spaghetti.
It does. And when the first part, before you get to where Ronald is reading, I'm like, that's how a real art person describes an art piece. I'm like just stumbling around for
Andrew Stevens, some kind of
colours
art guy.
Yes, well done, Andrew Stevens. But what Ronald says is so beautiful, and and I just want it to be happy. And I think it is happy. It's interesting layers and color, and color makes me happy, as you would know from my house.
I mean, look around, except it's great podcast. Sweet. So I think that one of the really amazing things about Ronald's work is sort of like his very universal themes of sort of coming out. And I just wanted to sort of touch on the fact that Ronald's obviously from the Gunaikurnai area, and I think that coming out in a small town is never easy, and he kind of does grapple a little bit with the work. So I asked him about what his journey of coming out was like for him down here, and this is what he had to say.
A lot of people that I know, they struggle to come out in a way of their sexuality and more on their culture as well. But I'm very lucky to be an artist, and I did it through my art, and people knew that I was gay because, I had no woman or girlfriends like around. I just had a guy and sort of thing. And my mum, I never told my mum, but my mum would have known. But she was very happy, and she acknowledged Cameron and accepted him, so that was very good, and I appreciate that from my mum, unknown that he was the one. But it's very different to being an Aboriginal person and living with a Australian person who's from Queensland, Gubba Gubba way, that's the language up in Queensland, and I'm from Gunaikurnai, a Gunai artist from Gippsland, Southeast Australia. That connection. And that's why I do a lot of footprints, white and black footprints. That's everyone walking together on an Australian country. And that represents my new art and the colours that come out of Australia. Yeah.
So obviously, like, that to me sounds like it's really interesting to hear about that coming out process. I didn't get a timeline on it, so I'm not sure if this was like 10, 20 years ago. But my understanding is it's like not like, it's not the 50s he's talking about with still these challenges. I thought it was really interesting, like his partner dropped him off, like I saw Cameron drop Ronald off, and we had a quick chat, and he seemed like a really sweet guy. So I think it's really interesting hearing him speak about like that cultural difference. I find coming out stories really cathartic to hear, and I kind of wanted a little bit more about like how specifically he did it, because he touched on how he comes out through his art, which is obviously like what a beautiful, amazing process. Yeah. So I asked him just to follow up a little bit more about like what does that specifically look like for him.
Well, before I did come out, I thought my career, it was the end of my career, sort of thing. I don't know why I thought of that, but that's what happened. That's just my thoughts. Yeah, but knowing that everyone out there knowing, I think they had a fair idea, yeah, of the way I dress, and I'm always doing stuff, but people just knew, yeah, but didn't actually ask me, or or just let me be. But it was, that respect that I started building up, because I was a artist, and my art took that story in a way, to win the award, and just to come out in a way that people, it's difficult to come out in ways, like you could be a female or male in all different ages. Yeah, and I think my story is unique in a way because doing it through art.
That is really beautiful to be able to come out through your art instead of just getting drunk and telling your parents like me.
Is that what you did?
I got pissed and I told my mum. My dad doesn't know.
Your dad doesn't. He can just tell.
He can't. No, he
doesn't know.
He doesn't know. He I don't know.
You are queer presenting, right?
Like I think so. Like I get read as a lesbian.
You're wearing
chronically.
a banner thing. What are they called? Like a hair banner thing.
Oh, a hair band.
A hand bandana.
Yeah. This is actually I was.
You look like fucking Rosie the Riveter. Like, is there anything gayer?
I don't know, but my dad doesn't live in a world where gay people really exist.
That's true. So he's not looking for it.
He's not looking for it.
Well, I was going to ask you, like, I think Ronald talking about coming out through artwork. Like, did you do some gay art? Like, did you do poems and stuff?
Well, look, is collecting. So I'm thinking back to high school. Is like collecting folders and folders and folders of boys making out, or girls making out, a gay art.
Yes, especially if you public. Like put it all together in like
a collage.
Yeah, collage.
Well, there was definitely like some queer undertones in my art. I think like a step that I always kind of took as a music performer is that I would never change the gender that was in a song. So I know lots of like if I was singing a song that was traditionally sung by a man and he's singing about a woman, I'd never change it to being about a man, but a lot of straight artists do that. So that was something that I did, and I don't know whether that registered to people as like a proactive step, but it was something that proactively I decided not to do as someone who likes all the kinds of people.
Yeah, it's so interesting when it's like if it's outside the bounds of like the binary in that way where it's like a spectrum, it's less about establishing, it's more about like being confused and perplexed by everybody else's rigidity.
Right.
Where you're just like,
exactly.
Why would I change the words? Like, I don't even think of it in those terms.
I'm thinking about in high school, I just thought about that Incubus song. I don't know. I think it's called Your Love is a Verb here. And the line is like, your love is a verb here in my room. But I think being queer was just a verb. Like, to me, it just was something that I was doing and that I was being rather than something I was saying.
Yeah.
For a long time, which I think is like what the experience of a lot of people. It doesn't feel like, I don't know, I didn't feel like I had to come out in high school per se. But later it felt important.
It's interesting hearing Ronald talk about being worried that his career would be over for coming out as gay, which must have been extremely distressing. So I think now to be at a point where he's able to like actually make works called Coming Out and 2, not just the first one, obviously like a move for him, like for sure, towards his like, being super authentic around who he is. And I guess I wanted to go and talk a little bit about his sort of first artworks. And I think I'm really interested in the way that this kind of like, because before he was talking about like the happiness and stuff and like the colors and everything. Ronald's artwork seems to have sort of like changed spaces in a place like Morwell where you would think I don't know, that wasn't necessarily possible. Like, we're the kind of town where they tried to play classical music to stop fighting and people fought more and it just looked like Clockwork Orange.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think a lot of that stuff sort of takes. So I wanted to ask him about his sort of first creations. We're currently at the immigration sort of museum area, and I actually read about one of your earliest artworks being a public mural, like down near the Macca's, right? Like, you did a public mural just over there somewhere?
Yeah, that's over there under the bridge.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my very, very, very first art project in 2014, I think. Winning the Lynn Anus Award, the Victorian Indigenous Art Award, in 2009, I kept on painting stories and, become a professional artist. Yeah, in a way. Yeah, because people would go and check it out and with colours it makes them feel very happy. Yeah, and recently I did an art project and a lot of people were very positive and saying they should have more of that art out there in public. So it's very good when I did that one in 2014. But it's a very different one I did compared to the other one on the other side. That's the spray paint with the gathering place and the youth group and the spray paint artist from Warrigal, Jess and his crew. They were all helping, and Marilyn Fenton, she's an artist as well. And it was like a community one. Yeah, and that's the other side.
So I remember coming across this, again, walking in that weird swampy area. That was a place where during high school, you just wouldn't go. Like, the bus drops you off near Mid-Valley, and if you want to walk to your friend's house in Bridal Estate, you have to kind of go through this, like, fucked up underpass, basically, right? Like, super murderous. I remember, like, running through there as a child because we would ride our bikes to Mid-Valley and just be, like, horrified. Yeah. And so Ronald got commissioned to put a piece of art there, and it really changed the mood. So I've just sent you a link to have a look at it. Do you want to kind of describe it for people?
It's amazing. So everyone knows what an underpass looks like. It's a shitty, dank place. But Ronald's work, it's like long lines with their very kind of divided parts. One on the lowest part, it looks kind of like water with this long spiral at the end that goes all the way through. Then there's a black and blue line, and then there's a white line, and then in the center it's all red and orange, and there's handprints and there's circles, and then there's another white line, and above it's like black with white all through it as well. And I love the handprints and the spirals and the half circles and like all of that stuff you can still see very much in his work now, like the last one I just described. But the colors, like, they're so vastly different in that work. I feel like now I'm like, it's Ronald's work, but with a rainbow thrown on it.
Yes,
like,
yeah. It's so interesting seeing that kind of work in an unexpected place like this underpass. This is not just like a train, it's hard to communicate.
It's an out of the way underpass.
Yes, it's like a super dank and creepy one that you have to go out of your way to, but it was a real problem area. Like, people like used to just hang out under there and like get drunk and take drugs, basically.
Used to have to walk under there every day when I was living with your dad, Josie. And I was
Easter egg for those playing at home.
Yeah. When I was living with Josie's dad and working at Mid-Valley, I worked at a fruit and vegetable shop there. And there was no buses as early as I had to arrive at Mid-Valley because it's the valley and there's no, like, tenable bus schedule. It just sucks. But yeah, so I had to walk all the way from that house, the shop, to working at the fruit and vegetable shop. And I walked past that. It's like a scary, out-of-the-way place with no colour and dankness.
And now Ronald's work has sort of, like,
enlivened it.
Yeah. So I'm so interested in the way that he depicts the land, because I think, you know, we speak a lot about the land down here and we talk a lot about, you know, the shape of what's happening and like the future of the land. So I wanted to know, since he kind of depicts it within his work, what he thought about what's going on and like how conscious is, like, does he try to bring elements of that stuff into the work? And this is what he had to say.
Thinking that the land is sick, Mother Earth. But the water is washing it all down, and that's why I do a lot of colour in my artwork. And that brings back what it used to look like. Yeah, look after it because the land looked after us for many years, and yeah, the next generation, so that they will have a beautiful country as well, and their kids, because knowing that the land and Mother Earth is sinking away due to the floods, fires and all that, and it's just common sense and knowledge sort of thing. And being an Aboriginal person, I'm very deeply connected. You can see what's going on and where the water is going, and you can feel that, because when you're looking at the mountains, when you're travelling along the country, you can see the mothers, they all laying down sort of thing in a distance, the shape, but you keep on looking at them and it's like mum's laying down sort of thing. Maybe not, do a lot of damage to the land and clean it and maintain it, and then that would be great for the next generations, because just seeing the mine fires and the pollution and the effects, because I was born in Morwell Hospital in 1992, and then that's when it closed down, but now it's St Hilary's. But just seeing the changes a lot, and I could see that because in 2014 there was pelicans at the wetlands and the mine fires were happening, and now they're all gone.
Wow, I really liked hearing Ronald explain how he wants to paint the land like it used to be, and with bringing all that colour and that life back into the space. And also, I really love him say, I can't remember the exact quote, but just the sentiment of we have to look after the land because the land looks after us.
And then him just being like, it's common sense. And that's what it feels like we've lost sight of, like, oh, yeah, yes.
Absolute common sense.
Yes.
Yeah.
I saw a economist has just launched, like, a new proposal for, like, a way we could run the economies, right? And the whole difference is it's not about perpetual growth, it's about sustainable growth.
Oh,
and it just feels like,
it's so
again,
obvious.
obviously
It's
not
like,
an economist, but yeah.
Yes.
Like, yeah.
How is that not what we're doing?
I know.
The world is bonkers.
Yeah.
Like, it's madness. It's absolute madness.
Yeah. And to hear someone sort of just put it in such simple terms, you're like,
Yeah.
why do we need this, like, complex fucking... We don't need, like, another
Yeah.
report or whatever to be like, hey, maybe this is fucked. I also love the description of the hills as, like, the mothers laying down. And I guess because we're in a valley, we're surrounded by, like, two mums on either side. Obviously, gay mums, like, it's delightful.
Yeah,
But,
love
like, our mums laying down on either side of us, and they're just resting and waiting for the land to be, like, rehabbed.
Oh, it's
like,
really
it's,
nice.
it's so, yeah.
Oh.
But also then that final statement about just, like, that the pelicans in the wetlands got all, like, ruined by the fire. Like, it's such distressing land.
You can see the devastation
Yeah.
everywhere you move on the earth, like in the Latrobe Valley and everywhere. But I just can't get over when I drove from the Latrobe Valley up to Sydney and driving through Orbost where they've done all the logging and like you could just see, like I
devastating.
said, it was absolutely devastating. You can see where it was all burnt in 2019 from the really bad bushfire, and it goes from burnt regrowth trees into just freaking logging. And I literally cried going through there. Like it's so visible. The scars are so visible, and the mining scars in Latrobe Valley are so visible. But you think like the wetlands being destroyed by the mine fire or whatever is something that I would have not thought about had Ronald not brought it up. But the wetlands are so close to where the mine was on fire. It makes perfect sense that it wiped out the ecosystem there as well.
Yeah. Isn't there that saying around, like, if everyone lived in glass houses, there wouldn't be, or if something along the lines of, like, if all factory farming was in, like, glass houses, then there wouldn't be factory farms. Like, I think the fact that this environmental destruction is often sort of, like, shielded from us. Like, I think we've talked about before that when you're driving, they often plant trees along the sides of the road so you can't see the fucked.
Right.
Because it's hard not to feel emotionally distraught from when you actually see on the ground those impacts. And that's, I think, why those documentaries where you see, like, the Amazon rainforest being slashed and burned, you're just like, oh God, this is obviously, like, your instinct.
Obviously
you can
bad.
feel your instinct to be like,
it's like seeing a dead animal on the side of the road.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think, well, maybe my heart's too big or whatever, but it
not a
always
monster.
makes me upset. And I can't imagine anyone just driving past, say, an echidna that's
being
been
like,
hit
good.
and not thinking about that being a devastating idea.
I think what was also cool to hear from Ronald is that he was actually in Morwell for the mine fire. Now, you know, currently our obsession is that fucking mine fire. And obviously we won't talk about our secret special massive project that we'll announce on this podcast eventually. But I had to ask what his experience was like during the Hazelwood mine fire, and this is what he had to say.
I was in Morwell, my mum was in Morwell, and yeah, I didn't, was trying to maybe go somewhere for a couple of, a week or two. Yeah, because I'm not sure if they was going to evacuate Morwell sort of thing.
Yep.
Yeah, but I was over in a 2-story flats, yeah, and my mum was down, yeah, so, but just knowing that we had no air quality sort of thing, and knowing what the power stations has did to the country, and I can see that because it's like I see through country sort of thing. I have many connections to the land through my mum as well as my dad, and that travels all the way through to Lake Tyers Mission. And yeah, my pop travelled in the 50s to the 60s to be working, because my pop used to make a lot of boomerangs, and my nan would paint them and sell them to the tourism people. So they made that move to be a working people person and live in the Western world as you would know it. And there's many stories that I know of. But yeah, I thank my nan and pop in that moving to this area, because I wouldn't be where I am now. Well, the Lake Tyers history, I didn't go down there much, only just to see my pop Ron Edwards, that's who I'm named after. He's a very good, famous footballer, and that would be painted in the next exhibition, about my stories on my pop, because he was a very famous footy player. Yeah, and that's more to tell in the future.
So I think that's super awesome about his family's connection to the land. But I do want to just make a little sidebar here now about Lake Tyers Mission. I actually think that it deserves a whole episode, of its own. But I thought we should just touch on exactly what a mission is and a little bit about the history of this one, just to sort of provide that context for what he's talking about with his family's connection to the land. So I got a lot of this information. I didn't want to just get it from colonial sort of sources. So this is taken from deadlystory.com and the actual Lake Tyers Aboriginal Trust website itself. So I thought those would be more credible sources in this context. So their definition of what a mission is are that their missions, reserves and stations were areas where Aboriginal people were placed in after being forcibly removed from their traditional lands. Missions were usually under the control of churches and missionaries, while a station or reserve was typically run by the government. Missions, reserves and stations were often strict and harsh, with government protectors, and that's in inverted commas, controlling the lives of the Aboriginal people. Lake Tyers Mission, the sort of traditional name of that is Bung Yardna. So I guess we probably should do our best to say that. So it's Bung Yardna. The place at Bung Yardna was set up in 1861 by a Church of England missionary. It ended up being around 4,000 acres of land. Obviously, the entire system and colonial structure is not good, but the reports on both of these websites say that while the first guy was in charge, he encouraged the Aboriginal people to continue practicing their culture and maintain hunting practices to ensure they had enough food. He even attempted to establish an exclusive area of waters for the residents to fish in. However, the request was denied by the government. So this is way back in 1861. Once that guy, on top of that though, that sounds less bad, I guess, but there was also daily religious service for everyone, including daily Bible lessons for children. So obviously
maybe forcing people out of
forced assimilation type
culture.
Stuff. Yeah, so obviously deeply problematic.
Yeah.
So after this first guy steps down from that role, things get much worse. Around the turn of the century in 1917, the concentration plan, which was a plan to move all the Indigenous people in the state to one place, which obviously ridiculous.
Oh my God, ridiculous.
Yeah, that's hundreds of different language groups and all, obviously not good. The mission's website states that originally the land of the Gunaikurnai people, where Lake Tyers Mission was, it became home to Indigenous people from all over the state who were forcibly removed from their homelands. Many years later, many of these same families were forced to leave the mission and assimilate into townships. So by the end of the 1950s, assimilation policies forced many families to move to nearby towns to gain employment. And between 1956 and 1965, the residents of the mission requested, protested, and petitioned for Lake Tyers Mission Station to become an independent Aboriginal-run farming cooperative. The protests were successful after, like, no doubt, heaps of fucking
Heaps
pain
of
and
labor,
suffering.
heaps of work,
Yeah.
heaps of badness.
Travesties and stuff. The protest was successful, and in 1965, Lake Tyers Mission was declared a permanent reserve. In 1971, under the Aboriginal Land Act of 1970, 4,000 acres of Lake Tyers Reserve was handed over to the Lake Tyers Aboriginal Trust, and the trust was made up of reserve residents and functions to this day, and that's the website where I got the bulk of that information. So that's... yeah, like just
a lot
like,
to take in.
Yeah. So I think we obviously want to acknowledge like that's an incomplete history and just a very, very simplistic overview just to give context of like the lineage from where Ronald's family sort of came from. And then obviously, so Lake Tyers is about 4 hours away. It's just past Lake's entrance. And so his family moved up here to Morwell, I believe in the 60s.
Wow. Yeah.
So, because Ronald is a Morwellian through and through, or a Gunaikurnai man through and through, I really was curious about how he had, because now he's also sort of travelled around with his works. I was curious about how people perceive the area, or how he understands people to perceive the area, and how he's sort of been educating people around what it's like down here through his art.
Well, I think that people think that they have that connection because all my family's through. Yeah, is in Melbourne as well as down Lake Tyers, so along the line. Yeah, but I'm not sure what people think of the country area. But when I went down there and the Urine Boy showcased exhibition was in Melbourne, and that was part of the lockdown, unlockdown sort of thing. And I had the chance to go and see my artwork for 2 weeks when it was showcased in Melbourne, and that was the best time in my life. But then lockdown happened, and then I come back to Gippsland, so it's like I'm travelling and educating through my art.
Did you get a chance to see that in the city?
That was incredible. I knew that it was Ronald's piece, and it was so beautiful, and it made me happy. I don't know if that was the intention.
I bet the colours.
But the colours were incredible. And to have a Gunai artist from Latrobe Valley having their art on display in such a public location, like,
Set it up where, give some
proud.
context, like set it up where, like what it was and like.
So it was for, I can't remember the exact street it was on, did he say?
It's on along Swanson Street.
Yeah, along Swanson Street. It was a giant mural. Like, it wasn't just like one little, it wasn't like a 5 meter by 5 meter. It seemed like 30 meters. Maybe I'm over exaggerating.
It was huge. It
was huge.
It was part of the works that are going on to rebuild the CBD with all the extra train stations. Yeah. So anyone going in and out of the city would have seen this work.
Right. And it was all in this beautiful blue and pink colouring, and there's other colours there too, but that's what struck me the most. And yeah, Ronald must be so proud of himself. Like, I'm proud to have a local artist like have their work on display like that. Like, it's incredible.
It was really interesting hearing him sort of talk about that being able to travel with his work and go to the city and like have people interact was like, I think he said, the happiest time of his life. And I do think for a lot of artists, like the pandemic, it's a real sort of, I don't know, stopping moment. Like, you don't get to sort of pursue having people perceiving your work or showing your work, and that can be really hard, I think, for people, especially if you've got some momentum and then it's like the whole fucking world stops. Like, I can only imagine how difficult that must have been.
And the support, or the lack of support that was given to artists specifically during the pandemic was shocking. Like, there was not, like, there was no...
They're not eligible for those payments. Like, there was all sorts of discrimination.
There's all sorts of difficulties in getting those sorts of things. I guess I'm glad that a lot of the work that we're doing together. So, like, I've always, for the pandemic, there was always you to bounce on and to talk things through with. But if you're a sole practicing artist, it must have been extremely difficult to find that connection and to get that, I don't know, the validation that you need to be perceived, as you said, to have your work perceived. Like,
well, I was curious about that. He sort of was working through storytelling through his art, so I wanted him to unpack that a little more. So I asked him about like how he goes about ensuring that these works are sort of like read like stories. And this is what he had to say.
Through my art, I do a lot of storytelling because it helps me heal in a way as an Aboriginal person and to find my identity and to paint stories and to pass on knowledge and to, just to be a representative of Aboriginal people of this land, to tell stories through my art. But when I do tell stories through my art, through the pandemic, and my mum passed away after not long ago, and that was when the highlight of my career started in Melbourne. Yeah, but I was crying in happiness, so that was like 2 years before then. Yeah, but a lot of stuff just started moving very quickly. But I was very proud and very, just breathtaking that my art was showcased in Melbourne. And that was a to-do list of when I was at TAFE here many, many years ago. But art has helped me heal to move forward in a way after the pandemic and all the dark, sad stuff that was going on back then. Art has taken me to where I am now. Yeah, and it keeps on healing me in a way. And with many Aboriginal people, it helps them heal in ways that they can. And doing bright colours and telling stories. And just telling that story it makes you more prouder that you did it as well. And you wouldn't change anything, but you do tell stories in art.
The art helps me heal. Isn't that the most beautiful thing? And I think, I don't know, if you're an art person, art really does help you heal. And connecting with other people's work helps you experience and understand better. And I really hope that, I hope that like all the people that have seen Ronald's work get something out of it too. And I'm sure they will, like especially I love the piece in Swanston Street. It really was incredible.
I love hearing about how artists use their work to process things. I mean, I am just spitballing here. I'm aware obviously there's things like art therapy, but obviously like, is it that art helps you to translate really difficult concepts and like feelings and stuff into other forms, and that helps you to process? Like some people write, some people make sculptures, some people paint, some people sing, some people doodle, some people make gay sims and make them fuck. So like whatever it is, it's like a way of getting it out of your head and processing.
Well, I think so. I think so. One of the things that I have found, like I'm an artist of sorts, but I'm not like particularly good at any medium. But with drawing, for example, I really like trying to draw. And the thing that I personally like about it is that I don't have to put any feeling or any of me into it. It's an activity that I can do that's kind of like disassociating from whatever's going in my head.
Yeah.
But when I'm doing like art, like singing, like I like to sing really fucking sad songs because I connect with them and I want to connect with other people's emotions. Unfortunately, like I'm on the sad side of the spectrum where I think people need to process sadness and
the sad happiness paradox.
Yeah. But processing happiness is amazing. I wish I don't know how to make people happy, but bright colors make me happy.
Yeah.
But I think that there is something in changing the form, as you were saying, like, and particularly in creating a piece to make someone look at something in a way that they've never looked at it before.
Yes. Seeing through the eyes of artists.
Yeah.
Having artists sort of communicate ideas in ways, or asking questions, I think, is part of it. So I'm sure all the art historians are like rolling in their graves with our like rudimentary understanding. We're like, oh my God, does art like maybe people change the way they see things? But I don't know. It's so nice to hear Ronald speaking about that. And again, just the pride that you like vicariously feel from hearing about his own pride at his works being in those places. So I wanted to know what Ronald was doing next. And he was a little bit coy, but this is what he had to say.
I think I'm living my dream now. Like I've still got to just slow down a bit because I just keep on going.
I do notice on the internet you're like every day you're like doing a different place, different artwork. It must be a lot of energy.
And a lot of energy, but it keeps me busy and it keeps me happy and knowing I'm making a difference in this area and through art and culture. Thank you very much, and just keep on watching my artist network and spaces.
thanks again to our guest, Ronald Edwards Pepper, for being so generous with your time.
You can find our resources in the show notes for this episode below.
The music for Coalface is by Anonymous 420 and Loyalty Freak Music. This series is written, edited and produced by Josie Hess and Stephanie Sabrinskas.
If you like what you heard, find us on Instagram at coalfacepod or send us an email to coalfacepodcast@gmail.com.
Look out for the next episode of Coalface.